All right. Welcome to another episode of Cyrus's podcast. Today, I have my good friend,
Wayne Salmans. There we go. Hey, nobody says it right. It's not salesman. It's not salmon. It's not salmon. We got
It's Salmans.
It's Salmans. There we go.
I was like, wait, I got to rewind how to say it. Dude, I appreciate you for making the time. We just finished 30 Under 30 conference.
Yep.
Annual mastermind meetup that we have. Pulled you aside. I appreciate you making the time. Thank you so much, bro. So today I kind of want to, so a lot of what we do here is we talk about, hey, the how you got into where you're doing, what you're doing before what you do, and then where you're going with it, right?
Yeah.
And we had a lot of powerful conversation today, just you and I, and I want to share that, you know? So I want to rewind all the way back to before you even got into real estate.
Okay.
What did you do?
So I was in Alaska building houses, really cold. So I was freezing my tail off, and I was like, God, there's got to be something better than like being cold all day long. So I wanted to get into investing, so I got my real estate license, and it sucked. Like the first year, I was like, I had a tool bag in my car and like a briefcase. It was terrible. Like I did really bad for that first year. It was
so
brutal.
You were building houses?
Yep, built like framing, building houses.
Like construction work?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so in Alaska?
Yes.
Are you from Alaska?
The least sexiest version of building houses you can imagine. That's what I was doing.
Are you from Alaska?
I went up there one summer and just like stayed for a decade. Like, it was weird.
It just happened. So you were building houses in Alaska. You're like, what the heck am I doing?
Yes.
And then how did you get into real estate then?
So I mean, I knew a lot of people that I was like working for, helping, and like they were investing in real estate. They were doing real estate stuff. I was like, it seemed like the gateway drug to like passive income, rich dad, poor dad, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I get my real estate license. It looks easy. Sell some houses.
So did you get your real estate license in Alaska?
I did. Yep.
And so you started selling houses in Alaska?
Selling houses in Alaska. Yeah.
Okay. And where do you live now?
Dallas, but my whole real estate selling was in Alaska.
In Alaska.
10 years, yeah.
So you were there in Alaska selling houses, and then what propelled you to get out of Alaska?
So I hit rock bottom. So what's interesting is like, and it seems like this happens. Like you're going along, you're doing great. Like on the outside, I looked really good, right? I had like 3.2 kids, right? Like I was involved in my community, like I was making money, like it looked really good. But on the inside, I was a freaking wreck, man. Yeah. I didn't feel deserving. I didn't feel worthy. I like became kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Yeah. I thought if people really got to know me, they wouldn't love me anymore. So like looking back, right? I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but I had an affair. I screwed up my business. Like I imploded my life and like nailed rock bottom to the point where I remember I was sleeping in this vacant building, getting ready to take my life. And, like that's how bad it got. Right. So it's like, got to this moment like, look, people are better off if I just check out. And it was so ironic because I looked so good on the outside, but like my world was just done. You know, I couldn't ask for help. I was just total mess. And, so that's where I was.
When you said you couldn't ask for help, was that just that negative? Why did you feel like you couldn't ask for help?
Man, I think that two things. One, I don't know if anybody could have helped me. Meaning like it was like I think I had to show up for myself. You know what I mean? But also like, I don't even know if I knew who to ask. I think I had so convinced myself that I was so fucked up and such a piece of crap that like the world would just be better off if I just checked out. Like I actually believed that moment. Like, I think before that I probably would have thought suicide was selfish, but at that moment I literally thought I was doing what was best for everybody by like just getting out. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And what triggered you out of that thought process?
I mean, I would call it a God moment, you know, however you want to refer to it, but like, I had this moment where like nobody's coming to save you, but like, you can make a choice. You check out, or like, you have to be the hero that you've been waiting for. Like, you got to show up for you. And it was like this moment, like, give it one more shot. Like, you show up for you. And even if it takes 30 years, like, would it be worth it to your kids if you recovered, even if it took 30 years? Like, so it's this moment of like, I got to show up for me. Like, I've got to be the hero I'm waiting on. And like, it was like, okay, I can try to do that.
Okay. The reason I asked is I went through a similar, like, you know, I always talk about, I went through depression. I went through this. And so when I went through that, it was very much like I realized I had a coach that just wouldn't stop calling me. And finally he called me one day and I answered and I'm like, dude, I'm not playing soccer anymore. Don't call me anymore. He goes, I know you're not effing playing soccer anymore. Right. I just want to come grab lunch with you.
Yeah.
And that was like a green, like it was like a, oh my gosh, that got me out of that thought process, right?
It was like he sees you as more than just a soccer
Correct.
player. It was like, okay,
correct.
Yeah,
that was the trigger.
Yeah.
And I think that especially like especially as males, like there's such a stigma around mental health, like where we don't learn to talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't learn to deal with our emotions in a healthy way. We do all these other things.
Everything else.
Where like, you know, and I don't know, but we'll get into that conversation is like, you know, the reasons why you were doing, you know, all of these things, the affair, all of these things were actually inward issues.
100%.
That you probably had to work through to get to where you're at now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And so you had that moment where you realized that was the case.
Yeah.
And then what did you do?
So, and I think the really thing that helped me was like, and somebody told us like, just make the next right decision. Like, just do like, it was almost like I was willing to take a baby step and then maybe another one, then another one. But that whole, like, maybe if I could recover in 20 years, like it would be okay. Like maybe it'd be worth it. Like, so I guess if you really, I haven't really thought about it that much. Like, it was like a glimmer of hope, I think. Yeah. It was like, I had like this glimmer of like, maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe I could like recover. Maybe I could be the dad. Like maybe I could like be worth something. You know what I mean? So I think that was part of it, but it didn't get better overnight. Like it was like, I had to work it.
So was it that like that? Well, it was basically a visualization that you created.
100%. Yeah.
That was like, hey, maybe I can get there because you saw it.
Yeah. And I think like that
even if there was clouds in front of it, you saw it.
Yeah. 100%.
Interesting. And then you went and I love that what you just said, and I don't want to skip over that. It was just the next day.
The next right thing. The next right decision. And because I couldn't figure out 30. I was way too, it was just like, I know what to do next. I know what to do right now. I know what to make one more call, then do this. Like, but that's how I lived for at least a year. It's just like, that next little thing.
And when did you feel like it started, like you started really realizing like, oh, okay, like that vision becomes less cloudy?
I think it took a long time. Like it would be nice to say like, hey, like boom. And then like, but I think it was like got a little better. But I think it took a while to really
see like a lot clearer.
Yeah.
I believe like it's always going to be cloudy. Like in my opinion, like no matter what, there's always this clouds where you see the vision, but is it really there? You know, yada.
Dude, I think that's what you just said is so huge, because how many people feel shitty because they don't have like this perfectly clear vision that we think as leaders we're supposed to have.
Yeah.
I don't know many leaders that have like this perfectly view, like here's exactly where I'm going to be 20 years from now. And they feel so bad they don't have that.
Yeah. Well, it's what we talked about earlier. Is like Facebook started as one thing and now it's a total different thing, right? Like at the end of the day, like that's how we are as in our lives. Like I truly believe that it's this inward journey and we're consistently getting better. And everybody, you know, the best piece of advice I ever got in my life, one of the best pieces, because I've had a lot of mentors that have taught me a lot, but was from my elementary school principal.
Wow.
My dad passed away, and at my dad's funeral, she was there, and she pulled me aside and she goes, Cyrus, I just want to let you know something. Everybody's going to tell you it gets better. It doesn't.
Oh.
And at that moment, I'm like, what the hell are you telling me this
You're
for?
the worst motivational speaker I've ever heard.
It's the horrible, you know? But then when I understood it because it doesn't get better, or it doesn't get, you're not 100% better.
Right.
It just goes from crying every day to crying once every other day to crying once a week to crying once a month to crying once a year. And then this is how it is. You just learn to deal with it versus it disappearing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think so much of the time, like what happens is in life, we think that, oh, we need to be perfect and we need to have that perfect vision and everything's got to go the right way and everything will click at one day. It'll all be good. And it's like, it never is.
It never is.
And when we accept that it never is, I feel like that's when we have that growth.
Yeah. It's almost like that whole, like when you accept it's going to be hard, it gets easier.
Yes.
Right? It's like, this is going to suck. It's like you said, like it doesn't get easy. All of a sudden, there's no like this like perfect, oh man, someday, because most people live in this someday when I get all these pieces put together, then I'll be happy, or then I'll be content, or then I'll feel whatever. Someday, like, and it doesn't, like you said, like it's got to be right. What state do you want to, Tony Robbins asked a question, something along those lines, like, what state do you want to live in most of the time? Like, what state do you live in most of the time? What state do you want to? And how can you live in that state the majority of the time? And it's such a switch. Like, how can you live in a more beautiful state? But I think as high achievers, we think, then I've got to be less driven, or I got to be less this. And it's not A or B. Like there's this third place that I think you're able to articulate really well.
Yeah, it's creating it's like anything. When you create a business, when you create a new relationship, whatever it is, you could say however you want to say it, but it's like having a baby.
Yeah.
And then you got to learn how to raise that baby.
Yeah.
You know, you can read all the books in the world, but it's how you decide to raise that child, right? And I think that that's very much how we need to view our lives, right? It's like, how do we see our future and our success? And it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier, but you know, you went from Alaska, now you live in Dallas, right? And when did you start taking hold and deciding how you actually wanted to live? It was that moment in the vacant building.
Yeah.
You decided, I want to try to live.
I'm gonna step up for me. Like I'm gonna step in the gap for myself, and I'm gonna try to do this. Yeah.
So then that happened. Then what?
So then I went down. I had another, like what you had, like that crucial moment. I had a crucial moment where I was in Dallas. I was trying to sell real estate again. I took that bold class.
Yeah.
And somebody came up to me and they go, "Hey, I think you should be a bold instructor." And I'm like, bro, like I'm like I'm like the least of the least of the least. Like I shouldn't even be in this room probably right now taking the class, right? But she goes, "No, I think you should." So I like somehow convinced me, like, at least go do the audition. You get to hang out with all these cool people. I'm like, cool. So I go do this audition. And like I do get hundreds of people trying to do this. And I get down to like these one or two people, right? And I'm doing the work. I'm convinced like there's no way, but I'm doing it. Right? I'm like, I'm just going to do my best, right? Show up and just try my best. And then Diana Kokoska pulled me in, and she had written bold, and she pulled me in her office one day and she goes, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, this would be awesome. I was like, but I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I don't think I'm the guy. Like, I'm not there. Like, I just fucked my whole life up. Like, I'm probably not the dude to go teach people how to like live an awesome life. You know what I mean? Like, and she goes, and I'll never forget, she goes, like, "You're going to have to believe in my belief in you before you believe in it." And like, I still get chills, right? Because like, she saw something to me that I was like, I mean, I'll give it my best. If you believe it. So like, that was huge for me.
Yeah.
And another big moment for me was like teaching bold. And a big moment for me was just realizing that I didn't have to have it all together.
Yeah.
Like I could get in front of a room of a couple hundred people and be like, "Hey, this stuff's really, like I got this figured out. This I'm working on, man. Like, and this is a shit show." Like, and I think that's what everybody loves about you so much too, is like that we're just like, you're transparent about like, "Hey, I've got some stuff figured out that's really cool. And I got stuff that's not, and like, that's okay too." But like that often, nobody's inspired by perfection. They're inspired by like, I'm on the journey too. Like I figured stuff out, but I don't like, so that was,
well, it's all, I think it all comes down to relatability. Like when I listen to somebody and I hear and they say that everything's going perfectly, it's like impossible. Like, because, and people will look at your life, people will look at my life, and they'll see what they see, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, they're so successful. Wayne runs one of the top coaching companies in the country, yada, yada, yada." But like, at the end of the day, like, we were talking about stuff that we're still dealing with.
Last week, I spent 20 minutes on my floor in my living room bawling. Last week, right? Bawling because I was talking to my son, and I got off the phone with him, and I'm just going through all the things I missed out because I wasn't there for so much, because I wasn't there for a lot of his life, right? And like, I'm just fucking bawling, right? I just went through this brutal divorce, and like, I'm okay, but like, it sucked. Like that was a tough hour. You know what I mean? And like, it wasn't a tough 5 days, but I've had a lot of tough hours in the last year. And I think it's really important for people to go like, you can have those moments and like, that's okay. Like have a shitty hour, but like, I'm proud that it's not a shitty day anymore. Yeah. Right. And what was an hour, now it's 10 minutes. Like you improve, get better and better. But like, it's, man, you're going to have that shit.
Yeah. And also like, that's normal.
Yes.
This is the number one thing that I keep trying to say is like, that is so normal. But I think that especially as men, you know, and women deal with it as well. Like I'm not, you know, but especially as men, I think that we're taught, you know, you have to be tough it out. Come on, boom, boom, boom. But the reality is like, it's okay to cry. And that's totally normal. Because we're going through BS throughout our life. And the other thing that I realized like recently, and that I see even more as I've been working with, you know, all of these CEOs and yada, 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 and helping coach this side of things, is everybody's dealing with something.
Everybody's dealing with something.
You could have the most amount of money in the world. They're still dealing with something. You know, Steve Jobs said it better than anybody before he passed away. One of his last statements, he literally, like, he said it, like, at the end of the day, when you think about what Steve Jobs had everything, changed our world, how we see it, completely changed how we live.
Yes.
And then what is it without health?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
And he said that, and you think about it, and it's like, this is one of the smartest people in our generation. So when we look at our lives, it's like, what is all of this stuff that we have without our mental health and our physical health and our emotional health and so on and so forth, right? Like, it's an interesting, we could go down a whole rabbit hole of this.
And I think it, like, one of the things I think about, like, when we get in front of a room, one of the things I think about, I think Zig Ziglar said, he goes, anytime you get in front of a room, there's at least one person in that room about to throw in the towel. Yeah. Like, there's someone in that room thinking about throwing in the towel.
I love that.
And like you said earlier, like, I don't give a fuck about connecting with everybody, but there might be two people in here that, like, my stuff relates to their stuff, and that's what they needed to hear. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think it's so true. And the other thing I love is, like, and I tell my friends this now, I'm like, I would rather you cry my shoulder than me cry at your funeral. Yeah. 100%. Right? Like, man, and then, like, and I think this is one thing I would take away is, like, get really good people that will give you one or three things. Like, sometimes, you know, my buddy will call me and be like, do you need a hug? Do you need a hand up, or do you need a kick in the ass? Like, I'll do either one, right? Like, whatever one you need. Like, what do you need right now, man? Like, do you need a hug? Do you need a hand up, or do you need a kick in the ass? And, like, but we need to be able to ask that and have those conversations. Yes. Yeah.
Openly.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this. How did you build your tribe of people to have that conversation with?
So, you know, I'm glad you asked that. I got weird about it. I literally wrote down, like, a missing person report. So I was like, it was funny because I was like, I need a friend, right? This is so weird, right? Because it's like we were talking about earlier, you can be in a room with 1,000 people and still feel like you're all freaking alone, right? And I was like, I need a friend, man. And I literally wrote down, I was like, okay, I need a guy in my life that we have similar, like, values, similar beliefs. I need somebody who has kids like I got kids, right? I'm not going to the club every Friday night. Like, just not where I was at in that life, right? But, like, here's the kind of person. So I literally wrote down a couple people that I needed in my life. And then literally the universe kind of helped bring them in. You know what I met them in different places. So write it down. And then here's the other thing. Most of us make friends, I think, because, like, oh, somebody's on the same street or the same cubicle. Like, it's hard to make good friends. Like tell my friends, we have appointments. Like, I call them one of my friends, Tuesday morning at 7:30. That's fucking weird. Like, we have a scheduled appointment to be friends. But, like, that's what it takes.
But that's, exactly. This is 100%. I literally just talked to somebody about this the other day. That is how you create relationships. Yes. I was talking to an agent that I was coaching. Yeah. And they were like, well, I feel like I'm just becoming friends with these people. And I'm like, that's perfect. Yeah. That is what you're supposed to be doing. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, look, even my friends, I know when I'm going to call and I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to talk to them because, like, we have lives, and you're busy, I'm busy.
Get intentional about it.
Exactly, that's the word. Get intentional about it.
But most people have, like happenstance friendships. They're like, I don't know why all my friends suck. It's like, because you've left it up to freaking, you know, whatever. Like,
because you're not intentional about calling them. I have in my calendar, I have times when I call one of my friends every single week. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And sometimes we talk for 2 hours, and sometimes it's like, hey, I don't have time right now. Let's talk. But we're talking to each other. Yeah. Where I've had friends where I haven't talked to them in months because it's not on there. So I think that's really, really, really important. And a big hack in creating relationships and solid relationships is, like, especially for entrepreneurs,
100%
is calendar it. Yeah. Even though it feels weird, it's so good. It's right. Yeah. Because then you build those, and then you could calendar meetups and hangouts and things like that. Yeah.
And you can always make it happen if you're intentional about it. Yep. But, like, rarely is it just going to, like, fall in line. Like, rarely you're just going to have a free 3 hours. Like, you got to get intentional about it.
Yeah. So now, okay, so you found your tribe, you started doing that, and then how did you get into the, like, how did you go from bold, you were a bold coach, to, like, how did you start your coaching company?
So for me, and it was hard to get out of real estate because I enjoyed it. It was part of my identity, right? I liked it. For me, one of the things that is really profound for me was, I figured out what I wanted to do. Like, what's my why? And my why is, like, help people see their greatness and then give them, like, the tools to tap into it, right? So that's, like, what I want to do. And doing it in real estate, I kind of did that with my clients. I kind of did that with my people on my team, and I'd help them. Yeah. But my whole vision is, like, if that's what I want, being a realtor, I was kind of in like, I was in a fishing boat doing that, right?
Yep.
And then like Bold was like, okay, this is a way better boat. I can go faster. I can do more, make bigger impact. And then it's like, cool, now doing it on my own. So it's like same kind of thing, but I've upgraded the vehicles as I was able to stay in line with my goals. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. And like, what I'm more curious about is the feeling that you had stopping real estate or leaving.
Dude.
Like I want to know that feeling.
That was tough. That was way more emotional than I thought it was going to be. Because first off, at that time, I thought I could do both. But I was rebuilding real estate and trying to be a Bold coach. It was just like, it was clear like it's one or the other, right? And like it was emotional because, and here's the thing, I think my identity had become in like what I did, and that's probably why I tried to kill myself the first time, was because my identity was in how people saw me, all this other stuff, right? I didn't have an identity on my own. Yeah. So real estate was a big part of that. So like letting go of that and getting clear, like, who am I without all that was a big piece of that, right? So like when you ask me like, who are you? Like, I want people to go like, he's there, he's love, he's joy, he's like, I had to go back to I literally wrote out I ams, like, who the fuck is Wayne? And it was like, I am what? I was like, and it had to be like, I am like joy, I'm empathy, I'm like, I had to actually figure out and I had a list of 10 I ams that I read every single day. Like this, regardless of all the stuff, like I want to have the stuff, not the stuff have me. Yep. And the stuff had me for a long time.
I love that. That's a really powerful exercise because you're reinventing, or you're really doubling down on who you actually are and who you want to be.
Yes.
Versus what we most as entrepreneurs do is we say, when someone says, hey, how are you? My name's Cyrus. What do you do?
Yeah, I coach, I do this. Yeah.
And then you start saying everything that you
all
do.
The roles you play.
Rather than, hey,
who you are.
I'm a happy person that likes to do blah, 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 blah. Like, I love that. That's a really powerful thing. Yeah. So then, so you did that. So you went full-time in Bold before you.
So I went full-time in Bold.
Okay, then.
And did that for about 5-6 years.
Okay. And then when you decided to take the leap from there to full-time on your own, what was that like?
So it was tough. So I remember the night I mentally quit. So I'm tucking my son in bed, and I think he was maybe 4 or 5 probably 5 at this age. And he looks at me, like puts his hands on my face. He's like, Dad, tomorrow are you going to the office or are you getting on a plane? And his eyes like well up because he knows a plane means like I'm gone for 7 to 14 days, right? Yeah. And like office, I'll be home for dinner, right? Yeah. And his eyes well up, and I was like, okay. Like, it's been good. This is awesome. Now it's time to transition. Yeah. But here's the hardest part. I knew I was going to lose this whole community. Because I was a big dog. I was a big deal, right? But I knew that once you, especially at that point, once you stepped out of kind of that world, it was like, kind of like leave a little bit of a cult, right? Like, I love my days, but it was a little like, you're not in anymore. You know what I mean? A little disownment. Right? And it literally was, especially back in those days. And so that was tough. So, but that's when I had to get intentional about, like, I was like, I have to go, nobody's going to build I've got to go kind of find a tribe and like start pre-building that. So that was probably the best thing one of my coaches or friends told me to start doing. I was like, that was huge for me.
So you started building that tribe before you let go of the other.
Exactly. I had to find friends and business, people that I could kind of create a community outside of the one that I was in, because I knew I was going to lose that one.
Yeah. Which is really smart.
Which was huge advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So then you built the company, or you left Bold. You built your company. What was that like? And what was that like to start building your own company?
Yeah.
Because you were a real estate agent, but did you really have your own company while you were in real estate? Or
I sold my real estate team at my divorce, but I hadn't rebuilt a team in Dallas. Right. I just sold a little bit. Yeah. So the rest of the story was I was getting ready to leave. And then somebody found out I was getting ready to leave. So they're like, you know what? We'll make this extra easy for you.
Oh, wow.
So I like this beautiful, like, I love being an entrepreneur because I have this beautiful plan, right? We're going to make this extra pile of cash. I got a whole thing, right? And then they're like, you know what? Actually, we're good.
See you later.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, shoot. So I had like, all of a sudden I was like, boom. So, so that sucked. So I just started lead generating. I just got on the phone. I was like, I need 20 coaching clients as fast as I can to be able to take care of my family.
What does that lead generation look like?
I called people. I had a non-compete, so I couldn't go after the people I had. So I just called people. I was like, hey, who do you know? Because I couldn't ask them to work. They'd be like, who do you know that's like blank that could be a good fit? And I literally just spent 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, whatever, just doing lead gen. And, within a couple months, whatever, as I was there, but it was just hardcore lead generation.
So then you were asking for the business.
I just asked for business.
And then you started building the business.
Yeah.
You got the business. And now you're one of the top coaching companies in the country. Now, what's next for Wayne?
Yeah. Next is we're trying to figure that out. That's why I'm hanging out with Cyrus. That's what this is about. What's next? So here, the easy answer is what's next is to figure out how do I help more people discover their greatness, give them tools, tap into it, right? So that's like the easy answer. And then how do I get rewarded really well for doing that, right?
Yeah.
So how do I bring big results to get rewarded well for doing that so I can take care of my family, do everything else? I'm still figuring out like a little bit ins and outs of like this next iteration, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a single dad now. Life is a little bit different than it was. So I'm still in the process of kind of figuring that out, right? But the cool thing is like, I know what my purpose is and I know what the light is. I just don't know exactly what vehicle is supposed to look like. Does that make sense?
No, 100%.
It's a shit show at the moment.
But
like I'm helping lots of people and like trying to figure it out at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not because you I think the most important thing in life is knowing what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And you know what your purpose is. So now it's really just figuring out how to make your purpose show up in other places.
Yeah.
Really not the
No, I love that you said that's actually, it's nice to hear it. No, you're 100% right. Like that's a whole lot easier to figure out than what took me forever to figure this out.
That's what I'm saying.
That's awesome.
So now you're not going 0 to 60 anymore. Right. You're going 60 to 120.
Right.
Which once you're on the accelerator, you just push down, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends on what lane you're going to get into.
There you go. Yep.
Dude, I appreciate you so much for being on today.
Awesome, man.
No, thank you. Where do people find you? How do they connect with you?
On the internet, you can go to just WayneSalmans.com.
How do you spell
Wayne Salmans good question. Wayne, W-A-Y-N-E, and then Salmans, S-A-L-M-A-N-S.
Got it.
No O's, no salmon, no fish, S-A-L-M-A-N-S. Yeah, everywhere.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on, bro.
Thanks for all you're doing, man.
Thank you.
Seriously,
Appreciate you.
It's huge. Appreciate it, man.